Feb wanted to be, all right, thank you. Bishop wanted to be here. Bishop Feb Idahosa wanted to be here by himself, but turned out his flight schedule got tied up. So right now, as I speak, he's flying in the air, and so he couldn't join by himself. But I hope that I will be able to convey his message to this great gathering today. I want to thank you for the privilege. I do not take this lightly at all. I've looked at your profile, I've looked at your background, and I think the work that you are doing is awesome and making significant impact. And the foundations you are laying today will yield great output in the short term. So thank you very much. I sincerely appreciate, and I'm honored to be here. I've been asked to talk about people-oriented leadership with a religious perspective, from a religious perspective. And it's interesting because everything about the faith, and I would like to use the word faith instead of religion. I would like to use the word faith, and I will come from a Christian faith perspective. And even though I will also acknowledge that there are other religious organizations and religious parties who believe and also contribute to societal development in one way or the other. I will come from the Christian perspective because I'm a Christian. So that's the perspective I will take today. But I think if anyone here is not a Christian, you will still fit in, because I will not rub it in. I will only just use that as a case study. Okay, so thank you very much again. I have a slide I will just try to share. I will try to share my slide in a bit so that we can talk through the slide. Okay. Just give me a moment. Okay, if you can permit me to do that. Okay, I think I can do that now. Okay, I hope you can see the slide now. All right, so basically, this is how I want to look at this. I want to look at the church as a societal change agent. The church, the religious bodies, Christian and non-Christian religious organizations, I want to look at them as societal change agents. This is so because no matter what you do, no matter what you say, faith is about people. Religion is about people. And if people are taken out of it, it becomes something else, maybe a business venture. So it's really about people. And all of those who profess one faith or the other need to understand that religion suggests or recommends people-oriented leadership at all times, because it's truly about the people. I give you a case in hand. If you look through the life of Jesus Christ, he was always about the people. Now, at a point in time, the people said, the disciples came to him. So Jesus had all of these followers that we call disciples. Now, they came to him and they said, the people that have been following us are hungry by now. They have nothing to eat. So let's send them away so that they can get something to eat. Now, Jesus said to them, no, you give them something to eat. So what he was suggesting is that Christian leadership, religious leadership, Muslim leadership, Buddhist leadership, whatever faith people profess, leadership in the religious sector must focus on people, helping people, not sending people away. So he was saying, this is responsibility time. You take responsibility for these people. They are hungry. Do something about it. You can't just send them away, because what we do in most cases is we send people away. But right now he's saying, don't send them away, give them something to eat. You feed them, you do something about their condition. Looking at conditions of people, let me use Nigeria as a case study. I'm sure the majority of people here are Nigerians, but if there are non-Nigerians, this is just a case study. I don't mean to make it all about Nigeria, but it's a case study for you to look at. So I'm speaking from Scotland now. So, but I just want to use Nigeria, the case of Nigeria as an example. All right, so I hope I'm permitted to let people in. You made me the host. All right. Okay. So I'll do just that. All right, so look at the case study. A lot of destitution. So homelessness, homeless people are abound all over the world. Everywhere you go, you see homeless people, but in Nigeria, it's significant. You have a lot of people sleeping under the bridges. You have a lot of people who are stuck, squatting, finding a way to survive. People sleep in old buildings, uncompleted buildings, shanties, bacha structures, close to water sites, just managing to get by. And leadership, political leadership, and someone else will talk about political leadership, and political leadership has not taken full responsibility, at this point, and that is not a good thing at all. But religious leadership, we need to also play our role. So how do we come in? I don't know if my screen is still shared. Okay. All right, so devastation and disease in the world and in Nigeria, people are hurting, crime and corruption, people suffer from lack, they don't have the wherewithal to survive. So all of these things hurting society, hurting people. People don't want to know, so listen to this. I took this from somebody, it's not my direct quote, so I don't know the author, but don't put my name by it, it's not mine. People don't want to know how much you know until they can show, until you can show them how much you care. So people don't care how much you know until they know how much you care. So how can the church, religious bodies get involved in resolving social needs while sharing the love of God? This is called Christian social responsibility. So in the corporate world, there's something they call corporate social responsibility, but in the religious world, we call it the Christian social responsibility, and that's what I'll focus on today. Just some pictures. I hope you can see my pictures. Yes, so these are pictures of people, homeless people, just telling you what we are dealing with. This is pictures from Nigeria. This is what we are dealing with. Hungry children. If you look at the education sector, this child looks good in uniform, but are we giving him enough information to make him ready for the world, to face the world? People struggling to get by economically. And so just generally looking at all of this. I'll take a Bible scripture because if we're talking about religion, we need to look at the scriptural perspective. So in Matthew chapter 25, verse 31 to 40, Jesus proposed something. He talked about a story about the Son of Man. He said, when the Son of Man returns and all the holy angels are gathered, he will sit on the throne, and all the nations, everybody will be gathered, and he will separate them one from the other, and he will divide them into sheep and goats. And then he says, all of the sheep will be set on his right side and the goats on the left side. And then the king will say unto them on the right side, come, ye blessed of my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, and you gave me meat. I was thirsty, and you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you took me in. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came unto me. Now, as we go on, I've used this template, this scripture to put together a table I'll share with you that will show how religious organizations can be relevant to society, can provide people-oriented service, people-oriented leadership in society. So as we go on. Now, then shall the righteous answer, saying unto him, Lord, when saw we thee hungry and fed thee, and thirsty and gave thee drink? When saw we thee a stranger and took thee in, or naked and clothed thee? Or when saw we thee sick or in prison and came unto thee? And the king shall answer and say unto them, verily I say unto you, inasmuch as you have done it unto one of the least of these brethren, you have done it unto me. So watch this. This is interesting. And this is very interesting. So judgment comes, and instead of the king to say, how righteous were you? How many times did you go to church? How much did you give in church? How many times did you fast and pray? He's not talking about all of that. He's saying, how did you contribute to society? How did your religion touch the lives of people? How did your faith contribute to society? How did it make people better? How did you provide people-oriented leadership? How did you take responsibility for the challenges in society? This was the standards. And by that standard, he separated the sheep from the goats, and then rewarded the sheep, and then cast the goats into outer darkness. The goats were those who did not care for society, who did not contribute to the world around them. So this is critical. So no matter how much you know God, you pray, you fast, these are the standards laid out by Christ. These are the standards he laid out. He said, I was sick, you did not visit me in the hospital. I was hungry, you did not give me food. I was naked, you did not clothe me. I was in prison, you did not visit. All of these standards. He said, based on this standard, he separated two classes of people, those that were to be rewarded and those that were to be left out in the cold. So at the end of it all, the value of your religion will be measured by the people you are able to touch, the number of people you are able to touch. It's not about the number of times we gathered, the number of times we prayed, the number of times, because there's an end to it. Leadership is not leadership in itself. Leadership has an end. So in government presently, what we find in society is that people struggle to get leadership is the end of it all. Political power is the end of it all. So people strive to get political power. Once they've got it, they've arrived. But that's not the goal. Leadership is not an end in itself. Leadership is the means to an end. The end is to touch lives of people, to make people better. So even religious leadership has the same responsibility to touch the lives of people. The Bible puts this responsibility on us. So when Jesus told the disciples, you have to feed them, you have to do something about their condition, you have to do something about their situation, that was critical. So basically, looking at this again, I want to challenge everyone listening here today and those following online. If you claim to be religious, if you claim to be a person of faith, your faith should put a responsibility on you. That responsibility is to contribute towards society, to provide people-oriented leadership. So if you are a person of faith, you are a leader automatically, but your leadership must be people-centered. It shouldn't be about yourself. If you hear people pray, people make requests, you hear them talk about religious people, they talk about me, myself, and I. God give me, God forgive me. God give me, God forgive me. That's all people go to God to talk about, forgetting that it's about sacrifice. It's about other people. You must make room for others. You must be willing to reach out to others. Jesus made this clear in scriptures. So when he told the disciples, give them something to eat, he said, you have to take responsibility. I have given you power and authority. And so the demands of power and authority is responsibility. You must take responsibility for people. If people come to your church, you must take responsibility for them. If you find people in the streets, they don't come to your church, but they're out there in the streets, you must find a way to take responsibility for them. This is what true religion is all about. If you read the Bible in the book of James, that's clear. True religion is helping the widows, helping the fatherless, reaching out to the needy. That's what true religion is all about. So we have this responsibility. I'll go back to my slide and show you a few more things, and then we will begin to wrap this up. So this is the mandate of every person of faith, to be the salt and the light in our community, that they may see our good deeds and praise our Father in heaven. That's the mandate of every Christian, everyone that professes religion. This is the mandate, to be the salt and the light in our community, that they may see our good deeds and praise our Father in heaven. So why should we care or get involved in societal change? The church, religious organizations, we have the mandate of God to meet the social needs of people in the world. In Matthew, it says, you are the light of the world and the salt of the earth. It says, when I was hungry, you fed me. We've seen that already. So what exactly then is social responsibility? So let's go straight to the crux of the matter. Social responsibility. If it's a corporate organization, it's corporate social responsibility. If it's a Christian organization, it's Christian social responsibility. And by extension, I would imagine Islamic social responsibility and other faiths, but I'm focused on the Christian faith now. So the theory that social responsibility is the theory that an entity, be it an organization or an individual, has an obligation to act to benefit society at large. You have an obligation, a responsibility to act in such a way that society at large benefits from your action. This is what social responsibility is. Social responsibility can be passive, it can be active. Passive means you are avoiding actions that will hurt others. Active means you are performing actions, doing things, activities that will help others. So passively, just avoiding chaos, avoiding trouble, avoiding harmful activities, you are contributing to society. If you stay away from drugs, if you stay away from reckless driving, if you do not litter the streets, if you do not carry out acts that will, if you avoid cultism, just by staying away from all of those vices, you are adding value to society. So that is passive social responsibility. But active social responsibility. So now, the religious groups contribute a lot to passive social responsibility. Passive social responsibility. The religious bodies are doing very well when it comes to that, because you know they are at the forefront of preaching against crime, preaching against all sorts of vices in society. They speak against taking somebody's wife, speak against causing harm to your neighbor. They talk about loving your neighbor. So religious bodies do a lot when it comes to passive social responsibility, because members are encouraged all the time to stay away from evil. And when you stay away from evil, you are contributing actually to society. But then the active social responsibility comes in. That is when you take it a step further, not just staying away from things that will hurt others, but then going further to carry out activities that will advance social goals and change the lives of people. In Nigeria, for example, and in most developing world nations, in most of the developing world, 7.8 million, look at statistics. These statistics were not done this year, so I'm sure there is worse right now, but just a couple of years ago, 7.8 million orphans in Nigeria are in basic need of care and access to basic services. 1.8 million of them were orphaned by HIV and AIDS. Nigeria has 2% of the world's population, but suffers 10% of the world's maternal deaths. So 2% of the world's population, but suffer 10% of the world's maternal deaths. At least 6.1 million people are living with AIDS in Nigeria. And these are conservative figures because they are old data. I did not have enough time to freshen up this data because I had to step in on short notice. Approximately 10 million children of school age in Nigeria are out of school. Approximately 10 million. And latest figures show that it's worse than this now. I think it's about 14 to 16 million. As of January 2013, 70% of the population in Nigeria live below poverty line. And this is worse now. Nigeria now is the poverty capital of the world. So how can the church and religious organizations strategically position itself to impact the poor in Nigeria? Active engagement in social responsibility is the key. Active engagement. And that is how we step into people-oriented leadership as churches, as Christian organizations, as religious bodies, by actively participating in social responsibility, acting in such a way that benefits the entire community, not just ourselves, not just looking at ourselves and our faith, but acting in such a way that benefits the entire society. It has to start with simple, basic things. So let us look at how we can do this. The main vehicle for ministering through societal change, strategies, CSR. Let's go straight into the details. Okay, so why Christian social responsibility? It is the heartbeat of God. It is true Christian service. It is about showing Christ's love to others. This is the way we can show Christ's love to others. It is about bringing relevant services to the hurting world. Christian social responsibility, we do this because this is what God truly expects of everyone that professes faith. It is true Christian service. It is showing Christ's love to others, and it is about bringing relevant services to a hurting world. Who does God hold responsible for the destiny of nations? The Christian, if you profess faith, you are responsible. God expects you to take responsibility. So look at this. There are 7 spokes of Christian social responsibility. This is called the 7 Christian social reformation wheel, 7 spokes. This is what Christianity is all about. We have the enablers. The enablers are people who have the burden to make a difference, people who have the commitment, and people who have the resources. So the idea, the availability to commit your time, and then the resources to make it happen. What Jesus said in that scripture can be summarized in this. Stranger, he said, I was a stranger and you did not take me in. Talk about destitute and rehabilitation of these destitute. Education, missions, talking about schools, endowment. Naked, orphanages, clothes, jumble sales. I will talk about some of these things in detail before I wrap up in a few minutes.
So it seems your screen is not showing on the other side.
Oh, my screen isn't showing anymore.
Yeah, let me make you an admin so that you could share that now. So sorry about that.
Oh, I thought it was so sorry about that. So I was speaking as if everybody could see me. You see my slides. Sorry.
No problem. Okay.
So I can share again.
Yes, please.
All right. Good. All right. Can you see it now?
Yes, exactly. Very good.
All right. Thank you. So sorry for that break in transmission. So what I have now is the 7 spokes of Christian social reformation wheel. What I shared from Matthew summarized right here. Christian social responsibility or social reformation at the center. And these are the other things that make it move, that make it work. To my right, you will see strangers. Jesus said, I was a stranger and you didn't take me in. So talking about destitutes, people that are homeless, and how can we contribute to rehabilitation? That is the question. The next one is education, missions, schools, endowment. How can we contribute to education? Critical, because you see, illiteracy illiteracy is the major sponsor of poverty. Illiteracy is the major sponsor of poverty. When people are not properly educated, poverty becomes inevitable. People are vulnerable when they are not educated. People are prone to abuse when they are not educated. And they can be used and abused at will when they are not educated. They cannot take advantage of opportunities when they are not educated. Naked, Jesus talked about nakedness. So we are looking at orphanages, people who cannot take care of themselves, providing clothes, and some other thoughts we can throw in there. Sick, healthcare, maternity centers, prison. That's what we call prison ministry. You know, a prison is critical. The reason why prison is critical, some people look at the prison as a place where people are punished, so they deserve to suffer. But you see, if the prison is not taken care of, those people will come out of prison and become more hardened. They will learn better ways to do crime. So that's why reformation in the prison is very critical. And then hunger, talking about food and drink, and then publication and media. These are some of the ways we can contribute. Now, let me show you this table, and I'm gradually wrapping up. I understand there's a time for questions, and at that time I can give more details. Now, there's initiative. If you look at this table, I hope you can see the table now. Let me make it bigger, clearer. Can you see the table? Great. Okay, so the initiative, the outcomes, the different levels of contribution. So if you are a faith-based organization, a religious or non-governmental organization, these are some of the ideas you can run with so that you contribute to society, because it's about people and it's about corporate social or Christian social responsibility. So the first one is naked. We're talking about the elderly and the orphanages, people who cannot afford to provide the clothing they need, the support they need. Outcome is to clothe them. The goal, when people are naked, your goal is to clothe them. What do? The first level is you can visit and help at elderly home. So churches can decide to support home of the elderly. We do not have, back in West Africa, it's not a culture. In my own organization, we have a home for the elderly, but you don't find that available in many places. I think churches and religious bodies can begin to invest in homes for the elderly, because people should retire and have a place where they go to and they are well catered for in their old age with medical support. Otherwise, you will find old people. We have a lot of aged people, senior citizens, sitting on the road and begging, and they've been abandoned by family, and it shouldn't be so. So I think we can invest in homes for the elderly. This is a critical, and this also can be a business, because we have people who have resources, but they don't have the time. They don't have the time to take care of their aged parents. So, but they have the resources. They are busy at work. If you provide the home for the elderly, they will pay for it. And with the payment that comes, you can take those who cannot afford it along. You can carry those who cannot afford it along. Now, visit to orphanages and providing food for widows. These are some of the things that can be done. Moving to the next level, you can collect clothes and distribute. So collect clothes from those who have and distribute to those who do not have. So the level 3 is what we call charity shops. I don't see these charity shops in Nigeria, but it's a great thing that churches and religious bodies need to invest in if they want to provide people-oriented leadership that solves problems in society. So charity shops, this is how it works. People contribute what they do not need instead of throwing them away. Clothes, furnitures. If you change your furnitures, you bring in the ones to the charity shop. The furnitures you don't need anymore. You throw them in, and in the charity shops, they sell them for at the barest minimum price. So they don't make profits. However, they just sell them for enough to pay the staff and to pay the bills of the charity shop. And then people come there and buy things very cheap and take them back. So you find out that the poor can afford certain things. You can go to a charity shop and buy something worth 100,000 naira. You can buy it there for 5,000 naira because somebody is not using it anymore and they just made it available. So charity shops are for the indigent, to help them afford to get things that they need, the basic needs of life. You can adopt an orphanage. Churches and organizations can adopt orphanages and begin to support them. And then you can go further to level 4 to build your own orphanage, to build your own old people's home, to run programs that can help others. The next one is strangers, talking about welfare. Traffic management in the society. You know, most times where we go to church, we block all the roads and all of that without consideration for the people around us. You see, that's not good at all. So we can provide traffic management systems for the community, not just for our churches. Help with traffic around us, have our traffic team work outside church days to help the traffic situation around the area. That will also help. Street cleaning, gutter cleaning, move on to counseling and guidance, dustbin purchases for the street, restoration homes, and all of that, mobile toilets, and then go on to build institutions at the level 4 rehabilitation centers. How many people know where to go to if they have a drug problem? Some of the centers I know of, they are not affordable at all. So the people on the street that you think, some of them you think are mentally ill, some of them just have drug problems. And if they get them to rehabilitation homes, they will be all right. So some of these things we can do some of these things. Health, hospitals, visits, a health talk seminar, providing medical outreach, mass medical missions, waste management plans, and then going further to provide health centers. Some of these things Christian organizations can do to contribute to society. Food banks, the idea of food banks for the hungry. Do you know that a lot of people who run restaurants waste resources every day? So at the end of the day, what do they do with all of the food they are not able to sell? Sometimes they just share it to people to give to their dogs. Sometimes they sell it for dogs. Sometimes they just in many places, these things go to waste. They let their staff just take it and walk away. Some of these things go to waste. But we can think about food banks. You can collect food from all of these places where they have restaurants, the leftover food. I'm not talking about the ones in the plates. I'm talking about the ones that they did not get to sell at the end of the day. You can take it, preserve it, and make it available to the hungry on the street. So you have soup kitchens and all of that. In the area where we have our churches, can we have boreholes where we can provide water to the community? So you have water for the community to where you have your churches and your organizations. Most of us already have boreholes in our churches. So all you need to do, just create an extension so that the community can come around and fetch water and get that support. Prison, helping to provide legal aid. Libraries, you can donate a prison library, and you can have people go there to provide support for people in prison. Education, I know a lot of organizations are doing well. Bishop Feb Idahosa, whom I'm representing, is the president of a university, Benton Idahosa University. And some people talk about affordability of those private universities. The problem of affordability is basically government induced, because the government provides no support for private universities. So all of the education tax and the funding goes to public universities. The private universities have to run 100% by themselves. They have to pay their professors. They have to do all of that, provide facilities. So, but what a university like Benson Idahosa University does is that they then provide scholarship to indigent people, provide scholarship to church members, and then statutory discounts for members of the church and people who are indigent in the society. And then there are a lot of scholarship schemes to carry along some others who cannot afford it. Communication, finally, we can be out there talking, because if they say recipe for evil to thrive is for good people to do nothing. If good people are talking, then the voices that will be heard will not just be the voices of evil. The young people there will see models, will have role models to copy. So the religious organizations have to be out there. We need to be out there putting out materials on social media so that young people can see the alternative. When they go out there, what they have is pornography, what they have is drug, we have the right alternative, and we must invest in all of these things to make sure that people see and hear the right alternative. So basically, I want to wrap it up at this point, and then when we take questions, we will talk some more. So in total, what I'm saying is that we must begin to take responsibility for people, for society. We must not have lords, as it were, gods of men. We should remember that we are men of God, not gods of men. And what you see in some religious sectors is that men have made themselves gods, and they are unapproachable. People cannot reach them. People cannot speak to them. People cannot get help from them. They just look out for themselves and their family members. We must learn that as religious leaders, we have a responsibility, a duty to society. The Bible says the government shall be upon his shoulder. And this shoulder we're talking about is the church, the body of Christ, religious organizations. We take responsibility. We are not in the business of complaining. We are in the business of complementing government efforts. So how do we do this? We have access to opportunities like crowdfunding. We have our numbers. We can pull resources together and contribute to society. So if we look at ourselves, and some churches have 100 people, what one person cannot do, 100 people definitely will be able to do. So crowdfunding, all our members come together. There are churches that have 10,000 people. If 10,000 people give 10 naira each, it will be some enough to help some people survive, get food to eat, survive for a period of time. If people, the numbers, if you have a number of 1,000 people and all of them bring the clothes they don't use anymore in their wardrobes, they will be able to clothe a lot of people out there on the street. If we are able to make when we build our churches, we are able to build not just personages, but we build a home for the homeless around somewhere in our premises where people can come in and have a good shower, come in and have a meal, and then go out there and sort themselves out. We will be contributing to society and providing leadership where government has failed. As I end this, I want to say, truthfully, the church has contributed significantly to societal development. We need to do more, but we cannot take away the value the church is already adding, because a lot of churches provide employment when government cannot. My church, for example, where Bishop Feb Idahosa is the overseer right now, he is we have in our employment over 10,000 people all over the world. There are those who are employed as pastors. There are those who are employed as assistant pastors, those who are employed as associate pastors. There are those who are employed as secretaries. There are those who are employed as security men. There are those who are employed as drivers, those who are employed as cleaners, those who are employed as a lot of things. All of these people employed in one way or the other, creating jobs. And this is just one church organization. Think about the different churches where you have church secretaries, you have church cleaners, church security men, church drivers. We are creating employment. And so the church must be given credit for that. Secondly, you see that a lot of churches provide scholarships. A lot of churches run hospitals. Our own organization, Bishop Feb, is also the head of the Faith Mediplex Hospital. And the hospital, he has Faith Mediplex Hospital and Big Ben Hospital. Faith Mediplex group of hospitals, they have 3 centers. They have about four centers in Benin, in Lagos, in Abuja, and in Port Harcourt. And then we have the schools, Word of Faith group of schools, also under the umbrella of Bishop Feb Idahosa, Word of Faith group of schools, secondary schools. We have over 140 schools nationwide, providing quality education nationwide. And this is the way to take the lead. This is the way to contribute. We can't just keep complaining. We must begin to do something about it. Is it affordable? Quality education is not affordable, but how do we help them? We provide scholarships to those who are indigent. We provide support to those who can't afford it, but we make it quality. We give it high quality, so those who can afford it have to pay a premium to be there. And then we also have old people's home, like I mentioned, somewhere in Benin, where old people can retire to, and we provide all the support for them. That's what some of the things Bishop Feb is doing. Bishop Feb also has the Above Only group, the Above Only Microfinance Bank. Above Only Microfinance Bank was a burden that he came up with to be able to provide loans to struggling people, women especially, out there on the street. So what they do, they provide loans, facilities, and products that will help people start up business, help people grow their business, so contributing in that way. So a lot of things working, and many churches are doing these kinds of things. Are we doing enough? Not nearly yet, but we can do more. But are we folding our hands? Not at all. The church is providing leadership, people-centered leadership. And I hope today I've been able to inspire 1 or 2 people to do more. If you have a person of faith, to do more, to contribute towards people. So at the end of the day, religion should be people-centered, solution-centered, where we are providing solutions to the needs of society, and not just heaven-conscious and earthly useless. Thank you very much. I hope I've contributed. to your program today. God bless you all.
Thank you so much, sir. We're very, very grateful. Thank you so much. I am really grateful for this. So we're going to go to the question aspect now without wasting too much of your time, sir. So one of the reasons why we decided to actually have the theme for this conference was because of looking at the system right now, looking at our environment right now, looking at the world at large. We're seeing that there's lesser quality for human development, human development. So, and if we're going to be promoting people leadership, how do we promote people's leadership with people which we are meant to help, and these same people actually hurt, the same people actually have the desire to actually help people? How do people actually still work in that place where they are promoting people's leadership, where they're being mindful of developing people, and those people take them for granted, or better still, maybe took advantage of them? How do they still work in love towards people, even as much as they've hurt so many times?
Okay, thank you very much. So the thing about people, as people-centered religion, is it is not reward-driven. And that is what you must settle before you go into it. If it is reward-driven, you will be hurt every time. People are takers and very few people are givers. And if you are looking to get back some form of reward, you will hurt yourself. Even when some of these people you are helping will not even come to your church. So if you're doing it to get them to come to your church, you will be bruised every time, because people just come, they take from you. Where I have my church, we provide water to the community. We provide a lot of support to the community every time. But and the majority of the members don't come from that community. So if you say to yourself that we are doing this so that the people can pay us back in one way or the other, you will be hurt. But when you provide religious leadership, what you must understand is that you are giving and you will get nothing in return from these people. Your reward will come from God. Your reward is in heaven. God will bless you for it, not what you will get from the people. So it's called Christian social responsibility. You're giving back. God has blessed you. You want to give back to the people. Don't expect a reward. If you expect a reward, you will be hurt every time. I've seen people, while you are feeding them, they will bite your fingers, right? You're not even done. They don't wait for you to get done before they bite you. But you don't get hurt when you know that you were not expecting anything in return. It's freely you have received, freely you give. That's what it's all about. It's not about what they can do in return, because people will hurt you if you have great expectation. So every time you give without expectations. Even in politics, when you contribute to the well-being of people, not many people will still not appreciate what you are doing. No matter how hard you try, there will be critics, there will be people who say you've done nothing. So the goal should be giving without expectation. When you have that kind of mindset, trust me, you will be fine. They will hurt you, but it won't count because you were not expecting anything from them in return.
Wow. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much. So, sir, the other question I would like to ask is, now, how do we merge, or how do we balance the role of religious leadership from various sectors, the church, the mosques, as a whole, everywhere, and secular leadership, more like politics? So we have young people who have the religious mindset, like I am a Christian. Now, how do we understand when we should make religion sacred, and when we should actually make it secular, in terms where we get involved, where religious leaders or religious public figures come into the role of politics without having to stay in themselves, or without having to actually feel dirty about going into it? How do we make a balance within it?
Thank you very much for that question. So here's the thing. We don't have a separate market for Christians. We don't have a separate NEPA. Let me use the popular word NEPA, the old name. We don't have a separate NEPA for Christians. We don't have a separate transport system for Christians. We don't have a separate police force for Christians. We share everything with everybody else. So if we stay aside and think that it's none of our problems, I mean, it's none of our business, the problems we will share in them, we will suffer the same consequences. So you see, the church cannot, the days where we say the church should stay away from politics is far gone. The church has to be at the forefront of politicking right now, because the impact of a failed government will still come to bear on the churches. In fact, I'll tell you straight up, the churches are not getting support anymore, funding anymore like they used to get. Churches are not getting, because everybody's struggling to survive. Who has the resources to go and fund others? So all of these things I've talked about, how do we fund them? How do we fund the hospitals? How do we fund the education project, the noble ideas, the help to society? How do we fund it? The people that fund, if they are broke, they cannot support. If they can't support, the churches can do nothing, because the church is not a business. The church is a non-governmental, not-for-profit organization. So we must be involved at the forefront of all of this. Now, partisan politics is a different thing. So partisan politics is a different thing. I cannot tell people I cannot impose my choices on people, but I can demand that they take a stand. I can demand that all the members of my church take a stand. You cannot sit aside. You must look at the situation. You must decide to participate. You cannot be on the sidelines criticizing. But I cannot impose a candidate on you. I can only tell you to look at and make your decision. But I mean, you must be involved. Churches must be outspoken. Churches must be involved. Church members, religious bodies must look at because we stand for justice and fairness. And if there's going to be justice and fairness, we deliberately must be involved in pushing and promoting it. So that's the way we get involved. Biblically, these things were accepted, required. God does not frown at political leadership. Political leadership is very critical, very important, and we must be involved. We must be at the forefront. We must not play the ostrich, bury our heads and act like it's not a problem. We need to take the bold steps, be involved in society, be involved out there so that we can contribute, so that we can correct, so that we can make a difference.
Well, thank you so much, sir. Thank you very, very much. So should I say the last question before the last question is this? For me, before we give the team for the conference, I had to study what we're going through as a nation. I had to study what we're going through as individuals. And I realized that for me, going to apply for jobs that I'd always wanted to actually apply for, having to meet with people. And there's something that I see, which I see with other people, which when they complain, is what should be the center of leadership when God calls a man, or when God inspires a man with a vision or with an idea? Should the idea be way important than the people who would actually help carry the ideas? Or should the people be very important? And should every vision or every idea be to the betterment of people? Or is it that it is just for the fulfillment of a man? So that we understand when to, because sometimes I've gone to places where I see organizations, founders, CEOs promote ideas well than even the people that are actually going to help them. So at the same time, they are principled. How do we balance that so that other people don't feel like, oh no, this man isn't a good leader, but at the same time, he's a principled person? And how do we balance it so that people don't get hurt in the place where people are being principled and they're thinking that they're giving less value to them?
Thank you very much. And so life is about purpose. Vision of every Christian or religious organization must be people-centered. There is no purpose on earth that God has given anyone that is not people-centric. Purpose is about people. How do you define purpose? You can define purpose from the lifestyle of Jesus Christ. Jesus is our example. There is no purpose outside the purpose of Jesus Christ. Jesus said, I came for three things. I came to seek and save that which was lost, talking about the people. He said, I have come that they may have life and have it more abundantly, talking about the quality of their lives. And that is people. And then he said, I've come to destroy the works of the devil. That's about making the people free to live freely. The works of the devil include poverty, sickness, diseases. All of these things I'm talking about. these are the works of the devil that he came to destroy. So everything Jesus came for was people. If I say I'm a follower of Jesus and my vision is not people-centered, then I don't know who I'm following. So every vision is people-centered. Every vision in every church, every organization must be people-centered. Otherwise, it's not from God, because God is about people. The only reason that God sent his son to die is because he loved the world. God is about people. So people must be at the, even when you define systems, the systems must serve the people. That's what Jesus tried to communicate. He said the Sabbath was not, a man was not made for the Sabbath was made for man. If the rules begin to oppress the people, the rules are not good anymore. So even though Sabbath was God-given, he said the Sabbath shouldn't make people suffer. It should help people to live better. So he said the Sabbath was not made, man was not made for the Sabbath was made for man. So the systems are to serve the people, not the people, the system. Every system that does not ultimately serve the people is not a good system. So ultimately, every vision must be centered on improving people. And see what principles are important, because we cannot promote indiscipline. We must also create that balance where even though you want to help people, you don't help people become wayward and irresponsible. You help them in such a way that they can also build themselves, build capacity to also help others. So take responsibility also. So when we are providing support to people out there, we must be careful not to be promoting a lifestyle of laziness. We must also train these people with a goal. Tell them the reason we are helping you is so that you can help others. So you must grow to a point where you are able to stand on your own and then help others. So when you help people, don't put them perpetually on your support program. For instance, if you're helping needy people who are hungry, you tell them, we are going to help you for a year. Within this year, we are going to help you learn a skill. At the end of the year, you will no longer be on our food support scheme. You should have developed your skill and started something for yourself. The person knows there's a timeline. And then you tell the person, when you have started something and you are getting income, we expect you to also take one person in your wings and train the person just like you were trained. What you are doing in that case is you are not promoting irresponsibility while helping people, because people are, when people find a place where they can, a lot of people are like parasites. When they find a place they can keep feeding, then they relax. They don't want to do anything anymore. So in providing this, there should be the balance. It's for the people, but principles are there to make sure these people don't abuse the support you are giving them.
Wow, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Reverend. I'm really grateful. And the last question to end the section, please, if you have any question, you could ask, and those online as well too, which is, before we allow our speakers to leave, is in your experience, you've had experience with people, you've led the different people. What advice would you want to give to young people who are watching this and those who are going to be watching this some other time? What's the present thing you want young people should know in exactly, especially young people from the age of 17 to the age of 35 and 40 to us?
All right, thank you. So I want young people to know that you are the majority in this nation, in Nigeria. I don't know if there are others outside Nigeria watching, but take Nigeria as a case study. But generally, the world's population is reducing. The average population of the world is reducing, especially in Africa. In Nigeria, I hear that the median age now is about 18. That means the majority of people in Nigeria are young people. I hear that about 60% of Nigerians are under 30. What this means is, young people, you are actually in control. So if the nation fails, it's no longer the blame. We can't blame the old ones. We will blame the young ones, because you have the numbers and you have the energy. So my challenge to young people is, take responsibility right now. You can never be too young to step out there and begin to make a difference. Elections are coming. The young people need to decide the next leaders, not the old people. The young people need to decide who the next leaders will be. This has to be the decision of the young people because you have the numbers. Any young person who doesn't vote in the next election will be part of those contributing to the problem, because I'm talking, you must be involved in the next elections to determine the leaders. Even if you vote somebody that is not popular, it's okay, but you contributed, you made your voice counted, your voice was heard, your vote will count. So I want to challenge you. Go out there, make a difference. You have a voice in this nation right now. Use your platforms effectively. There are young people, 18-year-olds, 15-year-olds, and 20-year-olds who are influencing on social media. But what they do at the end of the day is that they attract a lot of people, and all they do is talk about pornography, talk about sex. Every day, I keep blocking people every day, and then people will retweet and I'll block on Twitter. Everything they talk about is sex, 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 like they don't have time for food, like there's no work, that everything is sex. So they're using the space to create, to contribute to the problems instead of solving problems. So I want to challenge these young people who are out there and you have platforms. Use it to solve problems. Use it to create value. Use it to add to society. I know that talking about sex will attract a lot of followers, but now that you've attracted them, now that you've been able to attract them, can you now start talking about something else? Can you talk about something that will develop society, something that will add value, something that can help them find business to do, find work to do, education, value, something of value? So I want to challenge you, use your platforms effectively, make your voice heard in the nation, and finally, the mistakes, if you don't start now, you will become the people we are talking about that we need to support in future. So instead of, you can choose today, work hard today so that you can join us to support society, or be lazy today, you will be the one we will be struggling to support in future. The choice is yours. Thank you very much.
Well, thank you so much. We're very grateful. And then we hope to see if you are available for that, which will happen in the evening. So we don't know, maybe Bishop might be available, or you could be available as well too.
All right, I'll be glad to.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very, very much, sir. Okay, everyone, thank you so much for joining. The evening section starts by 7:10. So please join us for that time. We're having Dr. Mumbi from Cameroon, which is also a doctor in Atlanta, in Georgia. We're also going to be having Dr. Mr. Kunle, who's also from Nigeria as well too, is a politician. So please join us. And we also have Mr. Reverend also joining us as well too. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. Okay, bye. Okay, sir. Bye.